Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to download and use data files and document files from the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System website of the CDC. Let's get started. Okay, you might not be familiar with the CDC web pages, so we'll start with Google. Go to the search box and type in BRFSS, and this is the first link you'll see. CDC BRFSS Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance System. Click on that link and it'll take you to the BRFSS web page, which is what it's supposed to do. There's a lot of great information on that page, but let's stay focused. We're here for the BRFSS data sets and documentation. We need to go to the pages for survey data and documentation, and there's the link right there on the left. Just click on the link that says Annual Survey Data and it will take you to the right place. Here we are on the Annual Survey Data page. Look near the bottom of the screen and you'll see the links to the data for the most recent surveys, which are for the years 2011 and 2012 as of today when I'm making this video. Scroll down and you'll see links to the data sets for previous years. Here's the links for the surveys between 2001 and 2010, 1991 to 2000, and 1984 to 1990. The data sets for all previous years have some questions in common, but the composition of the survey changes from year to year, especially with regard to the optional survey modules that states choose to include. I'll say more about this in another video. Before we download anything, let's create a folder on our computer hard drive to keep all of our files in one place. On my C drive, I'm creating a folder named 2012 BRFSS, and I'll download all the data files and documentation to that folder. For this video, I'll download the 2012 documentation and data set, which is the most recent publicly available data set as of the day I'm making this video. Now that we have our folder, let's go back to the BRFSS Annual Survey Data page. Locate the link that is labeled 2012 Annual Survey Data and click on it. It'll take you to the page for that survey year's data and documentation. So now we're on the BRFSS 2012 Survey Data and Documentation page where we'll find everything we need to bring the 2012 survey data set and the accompanying documentation onto our computer hard drive. Scrolling down on this page, we come to a section labeled 2012 Survey Data Information. This is the section where all the supporting documentation is found. Most of the links have Adobe PDF document symbols next to them. I usually download every PDF file in this section. Start with the 2012 BRFSS Overview document. Place the cursor over the link, right-click, choose Save As, and save the Overview PDF document to the 2012 BRFSS folder you created on your hard drive. Do the same for the codebook. Right-click on the link and select Save As to save the codebook PDF to the 2012 BRFSS folder on your hard drive. Repeat this for every PDF document on the web page, and your folder should contain about 7 PDF documents. I'm only showing 5 that I downloaded here. After downloading all the documents, scroll down to the section on the web page labeled Data Files. The first link is labeled 2012 BRFSS Data and in parentheses ASCII. That's the file you want to save. Before we do that, notice that the second link is labeled 2012 BRFSS Data and in parentheses SAS transport format. This file was exported from SAS in a format that can be imported into SPSS or STATA. So if you're an SPSS or STATA user, then you may want to grab the data in this format that is friendly with SPSS and STATA. It seems like SPSS and STATA would also handle an ASCII file just fine, but maybe the SAS transport format has more bells and whistles than the ASCII file. We're using SAS ourselves, so go back to the link labeled 2012 BRFSS Data ASCII, right-click, and select Save File As to download the data file to your 2012 BRFSS folder on your hard drive. You can check in that folder to make sure the data file is downloaded, and we see it here as LLCP 2012 ASCII.zip. So it's a zip or compressed file, and when we get around to it, we're going to have to unpack it using a program like WinZip or JZIP. I use JZIP. Now we have the documentation we need and the SAS dataset in zip form. Next, scroll down the web page and locate the section labeled SAS Resources. We want to grab the 4 files I've circled here, although I think we might only use 3 of them. Use the right-click and Save Link As routine as we did before. The file we're not taking is for use with the SAS transport format dataset. We're using the ASCII format dataset. Here are the 4 files in our 2012 BRFSS folder, along with the data file and document files. The files we've just downloaded are the SAS program we'll use to convert the ASCII dataset to a SAS dataset, and some files that program needs to do that job. We have all the files we need now from the CDC and BRFSS web pages, so we can close out our internet browser. We're not going to have to download any more files. In the next part of the video, we're going to concentrate on converting that ASCII data file into a SAS dataset. So let's get started with that. Remember, we downloaded the dataset in a compressed or zip format, and you can see it here in our directory, and the file has the zip extension on it. So I'm going to have to uncompress it, and I use the JZIP program, but some of you may have WinZip. There may be some other programs out there. If you don't have a program for opening zip files, you're going to have to go to the internet and get one. There are several of them out there that are free, like JZIP. So here's the file open in the JZIP program, and now I'm going to go through the steps to extract it. So I'm going to go to the top of the program screen, and I'm going to click on that little folder indicated by the red arrow that says Extract. It's going to open up an Extract To dialog box. I'm going to select my 2012 BRFSS folder, and then on that dialog box you'll see a button in the bottom right that says Extract. I'm going to click on that, and that should put a version of the data set in ASCII format into my folder. And now I can click over to my 2012 BRFSS folder, and there in fact is an ASCII2 data set for the 2012 survey. So we're in good shape. We can now convert that to a SAS format data set. Next, we're going to open up our SAS program, and while we're in the program editor window, we're going to go to the File Open tab, and then we're going to go to our 2012 BRFSS directory and select the SASOUT 12 program. This is a program that we downloaded when we were at the BRFSS website, and it's a program that CDC provides so that we can do the conversion from ASCII to a SAS dataset without having to write the whole program ourselves. So we're going to open that program into the SAS program editor. Here's the SASOUT 12 program open in the SAS program editor, and it's a very long program. We can scroll down to the end of it at some point and take a look at all of it, but really what we need is near the top. We want to scroll the program all the way up to the very top at first, and then we're going to go from the top down. As you may know, anything that appears in green on this program is not something that's going to be read as programming code by SAS. Most of the green text is program notes, things that you as the programmer need to know or that will help you use the program, or information about the program. Most of it you can ignore. I'm going to point out the important parts to you because some of them will have to change in order to make this program run on our computer. Scroll down to this panel that begins with the label Instructions, and this tells you everything that we're going to do in order to make a SAS dataset using this program. It says we have to specify the path where the ASCII data file is stored, specify a path where SAS dataset is to be stored, where do we want to write our SAS dataset, specify path of where SAS format library is stored, and finally specify a path of where the format assignment statement is stored. None of this is very difficult to do, and we'll just go through and do those 4 things. When we do, we'll have a program that will produce for us a SAS dataset. So our goal is to have SAS take that ASCII data set and turn it into a SAS data set. So if that's going to happen, we're going to have to tell SAS where our ASCII data set is. So the first thing we're going to do is scroll down right below that instructions panel, and there's a statement that begins file name data in. It has an asterisk before the statement. You want to remove that asterisk. When you do remove it, you'll notice that everything after the asterisk turns from green to black or blue or purple, depending on what it is. Remember, SAS can't see any lines that appear in green in the program, and so when we remove the asterisk, it's going to reveal this file name data in statement as a SAS code line that's visible to SAS. Also notice that I've got a red bracket that encompasses a statement that says path of input state ASCII data file of completes. I have no idea what that means. However, you'll also see that at either end of that statement there is a greater than sign at one end and a less than sign at the other, and these sort of function as brackets. It's not important what that statement means. The important thing is we're going to remove that statement from this program line, and we're going to leave the two little quotation marks on either end. Once you get rid of that code line and you also take out the greater than or less than signs, you should be left with two quotation marks and your cursor should be situated between the two. We're going to place a path statement between those quotation marks that directs SAS to the folder that contains our ASCII data set. So where is our ASCII data set that we want to convert to a SAS data set? In this example, it's on the C drive in a folder called 2012 BRFSS, 2012 BRFSS, and the data file is named LLCP.SAS. So we have to use the elements to create a path statement, and I have the path statement for this example there on the slide. The correct syntax for this statement is going to be quotation mark C:\\\\\2012 BRFSS /LLCP2012.ASC. It's basically a path statement, and it tells SAS where that ASCII data set is located. So it's the hard drive, the folder on the hard drive, and then finally the name of the file in the hard drive that we want SAS to retrieve. You don't have to scroll down very far to see the next line of code we want to modify. It begins with an asterisk and the words LIBNAME DATAOUT v7. This is the line of SAS code that instructs SAS to output a SAS data set. We need to specify a path for SAS to use in writing the output SAS data set to your computer. As in the previous code line, let's remove that asterisk that's at the very beginning of the code line. The code line should turn from green font color to purple or black font color. Once again, remove all the text from between the single quotation marks. You want to remove the greater than, less than brackets and the text that reads path of permanently stored SAS dataset, version of data in file ref. Once that's done, your line of code should look like this. Here's the path statement I've typed to replace the instruction line I removed between the quotation marks. It's C:\\\/2012 BRFSS /BRFSS 2012 SAS, close quotes and then a semicolon. Notice that I've told SAS to write the SAS dataset to a subfolder inside the 2012 BRFSS folder that we've been working with. The name of the subfolder is BRFSS 2012 SAS, and I created this subfolder inside the 2012 BRFSS folder on my C drive. I'm doing this because I want to have my SAS dataset in its own separate folder. It isn't necessary, it's a quirk. Also, SAS may give you a statement that says the C:\\\/2012 BRFSS folder was already assigned the LIBNAME data in when it processed the previous statement. I don't think it matters, but creating a subfolder for your SAS data set keeps SAS from telling you this. Scroll down a short distance to the statement that begins LIBNAME library and within the quotation marks says path of stored SAS format 12.SAS 7 bcat. This is a catalog file that contains variable formatting information that we retrieved from the BRFSS webpage earlier. You've probably guessed by now that we're going to activate this code line by removing the asterisk at the beginning and get rid of the text between the quotation marks. We have to tell SAS where that formats catalog file is located, and it's in the C:\\\/2012 BRFSS folder right where we left it. Scroll down another few lines until you see the statement that begins file name format in. Inside the quotation marks you'll see path of format assignment statement. Get rid of the asterisk before that line of code so we can activate it, and remove everything between the quotation marks. Next, type in the path to the format12.sas file that is in the 2012 BRFSS folder on your C drive, or whatever the name of that folder is that you created for your BRFSS materials before you downloaded them. This program would run for us right now, but I want to do one last thing. Scroll down a few lines until you reach the code line that reads DATAOUT.SASDATA. This is the SAS code that instructs SAS to give your SAS dataset a name, and that name is SASDATA. Well, I don't want my SAS dataset to be named SASDATA. It's another quirk. If I make datasets for many different BRFSS survey years, then these programs that CDC provides will name the output dataset SAS data each and every time. I don't want 10 different SAS datasets with the same name. I want the name of each of my datasets to be distinctive and to provide a clue about the survey year I'm working with. So I'm going to get rid of the SAS data name in that line of code and replace it with a name that I like much better, which is BRFSS 2012. Now, when this program runs, the data set it creates will have the name BRFSS 2012, not SAS data, which this is exactly how I want it. Like I said, this is a quirk. People tell me I have a lot of these, but I'm limiting what I reveal here only to those related to SAS programming in the BRFSS. You could actually let SAS create the data set with the SAS data name and then go back and rename it whatever you want. If doing it that way would be consistent with one or more of your own quirks, then by all means do it that way. Let's run this program and see what happens. If you want to scroll down, you can see that the program is quite long, and all of that stuff is something you don't need to worry about. It has to do with the variable labels and so forth. Not a problem. Just go up to the top, hit the little running man icon there at the top, and the program will start to run for you. So here it goes, and you can see the log scrolling down, and it tells you there at the bottom that the infile data in is being run, and I've opened up the little folder where the actual data set is supposed to be written, and you may not be able to see it very well. I'll show you some screenshots in a little bit, but that was an empty directory. The data file is being written in there, and you might be able to tell where I've got the cursor that the size of that data file keeps increasing. As SAS processes the ASCII data set, it turns it into a SAS data set, and the size of the file increases as it does its job. So it's going to take a couple of seconds to do that. I think overall it takes about a minute to run this program on my old slow computer. And once that happens, you'll see the log screen scroll a little bit more down there at the bottom. And there it is right there. I'll show you that in a second too. This is the information that SAS gives you at the bottom of the log file after the program is run. And it's all black and blue type, so that tells us we can be pretty confident that we had a successful program run. The key thing that I want you to look at is down there near the bottom, the next to the last note. It tells you that the data set, DATAOUT BRFSS 2012, which is the name that I wanted it to give it. This data set has 475,687 observations and 359 variables, and that ought to keep anybody busy for quite a while. Let's take a closer look at what SAS did. Remember, we created a subfolder in our 2012 BRFSS folder. That subfolder is called BRFSS 2012 SAS, and it should contain our SAS dataset. So we open it up, and there's something in there. That folder was empty before we ran the program. The file is named BRFSS 2012, and it is indeed a SAS dataset, and it's big, a little over 1.5 gigs. So if you're like me and you have limited time and resources, these BRFSS datasets are way beyond any data you could collect and assemble yourself. If you pay taxes, then you could look at your access to these data as a benefit of paying taxes. Or if you really like to gripe about paying taxes, then don't look at it that way. Okay, if this video's done its job, then you should have a BRFSS data set on your computer that's in SAS format. That means that you can open SAS, you can bring this data set into SAS, you can plan studies, you can analyze the data, and hopefully you'll be able to write them up and publish them as well. This has been a very productive way of doing research for me, and if you're interested in health behavior, it's a great resource. I'm going to post some videos shortly that deal with how the documentation can be used to help you understand what's in the data sets, and then I'll also probably give some examples on how to analyze the data. So if you have any comments or questions, please post them below and I'll try to respond. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has been helpful to you. See you next time. Bye.